I'm a guy who's always wanted kids.
My son Callum was born 2 years ago, and then this August we had our daughter Signe.
And then I did what dads have done for decades when they're done having kids. I got a vasectomy.
Vasectomies aren't new. The first one was performed in 1899. But doctors CBC News talked to say there's an uptick in a particular demographic getting more of them recently. And according to experts, that increase in vasectomies could be indicative of a growing trend of younger people not wanting children. And here's what the doctor who performed my vasectomy had to say about that demographic.
So when I started in practice, it was very uncommon for any young person to come in and want a vasectomy when they had no children. And now it's become pretty much a daily occurrence.
Doctors across the country have said there are younger child-free men coming in for the procedure.
I think over the last few years, there's certainly been more younger men coming in.
We see more and more men and younger men without kids. They don't want kids. They've been sure of that for many years in many cases. And what changed is that before we were oddly seeing those, and now it's on a regular basis, every week.
An Ottawa doctor said until 2021, his clinic had a blanket policy to refuse men under 30 from getting vasectomies. But he reversed that policy when new research showed that young men without kids don't necessarily regret their decision. Now, he does them all the time. Billinkoff, who started to notice the uptick during COVID, says his colleagues around the world have noticed the change too.
I am part of an international chat group where doctors who do vasectomies participate, and the topic came up, and it's like everybody noticed. It was just that obvious.
This Australian doctor, known as Dr. Snip, says it was unheard of for a young man without kids to come into one of his clinics 4 years ago when he started practicing.
Over the last 10 years, I've noticed a definite change in the demographic of patients coming in. A large group of childless men, ranging from 18 to 30.
Closer to home, Ian Clements knows something about that. He's a 35-year-old Winnipeg artist, furniture builder, and musician. He makes all kinds of things, but babies aren't one of them.
So when I was 30, I got a vasectomy for my birthday as a gift to myself to kind of just like prevent myself from doing anything I didn't want to do.
Although he says he's really happy with his decision, it's forced him to do some thinking about disclosing that he's had the procedure.
It's kind of a newer thing for me to tell people I have a vasectomy in the dating scene. I'm the kind of person I'd bring it up first date. Like, I'm never really someone who like holds things back for too long. So like if we're having a good conversation and things are very open, it's probably going to slip out regardless.
At the time when he was deciding to get a vasectomy, he had a girlfriend who was having a hard time with birth control. It was the final tipping point for him, and he decided to undergo the procedure.
A lot of my female friends are like extremely stoked that I've done this.
A Yale sociology professor who teaches gender in medicine says Clement's attitude is more common among younger generations.
Demographers have definitively identified younger generations as being more egalitarian, more gender egalitarian. So I think it's very possible that those broader social and cultural shifts around gender and bodies and reproduction are showing up in some of these statistics that you're seeing.
She says historically, the idea of reproduction has been focused on the female body, which meant contraception options were focused there too.
Men still have the exact same two options that they had 120 years ago at the end of the 19th century, condoms and vasectomy. In the late 19th century, as you get sort of big established medical specialties for female reproductive bodies and almost nothing for men, that really does loop all the way through the 20th century. And so the birth control pill, gets developed for women and not for men. So there's ways to kind of trace the effects of this in actual medical infrastructure, including contraceptive development.
But the main driver behind Clement's decision wasn't related to his then girlfriend's birth control.
Even when I was a teenager, the thought of having kids was like just terrifying for me, and it wasn't really something I thought I wanted to do.
He's not alone in that. Canada recorded its lowest ever fertility rate for the second year in a row in 2023, according to Statistics Canada. 1/3 of adults aged 15 to 59 in 2022 said they didn't intend to have any children, according to the agency. The reasons, according to StatsCan research, are varied. Some cite the high cost of living, some say eco-anxiety. A U.S. researcher, one of the very few studying the demographic of childless people, says this reason is more common than people think.
But most of the work that tries to understand why people are choosing not to have children points to that they simply don't want to have children.
The researcher says easier access to birth control has made not having children easier than ever.
As we see access to birth control and increasing reproductive freedom, not just in the United States and Canada, but really globally, it gives people the ability to choose to have children or the ability to choose not to have children. That was a choice that wasn't available to them in the past. And as it becomes increasingly available, people are sort of leaning in that direction.
Clement says getting the vasectomy was right for him.
So I think it really just comes down to like learning what you want from life and just fully living that way.
Hey, where's my buddy? At the end of the day, I'm glad I had kids.
Oh, there he is! Woohoo! Hey, buddy!
It's made my life more chaotic, but it's a beautiful kind of chaos. I wouldn't change a thing.
1, 2, 3. Whoa!
Everybody deserves a life that brings them joy, regardless of what that joy is. Corey Funk, CBC News, Winnipeg.